Well, they survived World War I. They survived machine guns, poison gas, and trench warfare. But they did not survive Labor Day weekend. In 1935, over 400 American veterans were killed in one single night. Not in battle, not overseas, but right here in the Florida Keys. A rescue train was sent to save them, but it never arrived in time. By the time morning came, the railroad was gone, the land was gone, and many of the men were gone with it. This is the true story of one of the strongest hurricanes ever to hit the United States. And the men who waited for help that never came. Labor Day Hurricane 1935. They were never supposed to be there. See, that's the part that history forgets. Because this story doesn't begin with a hurricane. It begins with men who had already survived a war. They were veterans of the First World War. Men who had crossed oceans to fight in trenches filled with mud, gas, and artillery fire. Men who had watched friends disappear into smoke and never return. When the war ended, the world moved on, but they didn't. Some came home broken, some came home angry. Hell, some came home with nothing at all. So the government sent them south to the Florida Keys. Now understand, they lived in temporary wooden camps along the overseas railroad. Their job was to straighten bridges, reinforce rail lines, and prepare the Keys for storms everyone knew would eventually come. They were told they were safe. They were wrong. The air was thick, heavy, unmoving. The kind of heat that presses against your chest and makes breathing feel like work. The barometer was falling. No alarm sounded. You see, hurricanes were poorly understood then. Forecasts were nothing but guesses. Warnings were quiet. Out in the Atlantic, a storm had formed. And it was not an ordinary storm. The wind came first, not strong, just steady. Palm trees bent, the sky darkened early. Then the ocean began to pull back. Veterans noticed. You see, they had seen that silence before, the kind that comes right before something explodes. Messages were sent north. We need evacuation, now. A rescue train was ordered. An evacuation train that would race down the single rail line, collect the men, and pull them back to safety. See, but trains run on schedules, and hurricanes do not. The train was delayed. No one agrees why. Maybe it was paperwork, maybe miscommunication, or maybe just underestimation. While decisions were made, the storm accelerated. Night fell, and the wind began to scream. Not howl, not roar, scream. Winds over 180 miles an hour tore buildings apart, and the wood became shrapnel. Men ran for mess halls, ditches, anywhere lower than the wind. Then the ocean returned. A wall of water, 15 feet high, or maybe more, rushed inland. There was nowhere to go. See, the Keys are thin strips of land, and that night, they disappeared. Men were swept away in darkness. Some clung to trees until the bark tore their hands open. Some climbed rooftops that did not stay as a rooftop. Some were crushed instantly. Others, they drowned slowly, tangled in wire, debris, and wreckage. And no one could hear anyone scream. And the rescue train? Well, it never arrived. Morning came quietly. The storm had passed. The land was unrecognizable. Camps were gone. Tracks were twisted like toys. Bodies lay everywhere. Some were found miles away. Some were never found at all. More than 400 men were dead. Most of them veterans. There were no proper funerals. The heat demanded speed. Mass graves were dug. Names were lost, numbers replaced them. The Labor Day hurricane of 1935 remains one of the strongest storms ever to strike the United States. The numbers don't tell you what it sounded like. They don't tell you what it feels like to survive one war and then die waiting for help in your own country. Today, Keys are full of tourists, sunshine, bridges, and quiet memorials most people never even stop to read. But on certain nights when the wind shifts and the sea pulls back, you might imagine you hear something else. Not the storm, but men still waiting for a train that never came.